I trust this high office may in future times be filled, as doubtless it will be, by abler men. It cannot, I know, be filled by anyone who will devote himself with more zeal and untiring industry to do his whole duty than I have done.
In just 4 years as the 11th President of the United States, James Knox Polk accomplished more than most other presidents before the American Civil War. He entered the office with 4 main goals and worked tirelessly to achieve them. The only president to ever serve as Speaker of the House of Representatives, Polk also served as Governor of Tennessee from 1839 to 1841. The election of 1844 saw the Electoral College in a bit of a quandary. Martin Van Buren, the former president, James Buchanan, General Lewis Cass, John C. Calhoun, and other candidates made up the very crowded race. Van Buren won a simple majority in 7 of the college's ballots, but after an indecisive 8th vote, the 9th round of ballots unanimously named James Polk President of the United States. Aged 49, Polk was the youngest man thus far to be named president. He vowed to only serve 1 term and set 4 clear objectives for his administration, accomplishing each one before he left office. Polk later expanded the American territory in the Southwest after the Mexican-American War ended with the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, which saw California, Nevada, Utah, and parts of Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, and Wyoming all becoming part of the United States, increasing the country's size by 1/3. While the war helped the Polk administration achieve its latter goal of acquiring California from the Mexicans, it had a serious impact against the Democrats. Though Polk did not run in the election of 1848, the Whigs ran on a successful platform denouncing the Mexican-American War. And though their candidate refused to directly criticize Polk, Zachary Taylor was elected our 12th president. Managing the war effort and the general zeal that Polk poured into running his office took its toll on the man's health. He died 3 months after leaving office. Zachary Taylor himself, a veteran of both the War of 1812 and the just-ended Mexican-American War, wanted little to do with politics, preferring a military career. However, in the 1848 election, the Whig Party convinced Taylor to run for office. Taylor reluctantly agreed, and in spite of a muddled platform, he was named our 12th president. His transition into office was a long process. He did not resign his command until late January of 1849, and then spent many months choosing his cabinet. His inauguration was held on Monday, March 5th of that year, and in the summer, Taylor embarked on a tour of the northeastern portion of the United States in order to familiarize himself with the people, politics, and problems in that region. Much of this trip saw Taylor beset with gastrointestinal illness, and by the summer of the following year, Taylor fell ill again with an unknown ailment and died suddenly on July 9, 1850, at age 65. The death is blamed on the consumption of raw fruit that may have been spoiled, but conspiracy theories stated that the president might have been poisoned by pro-slavery Southerners. A report made by scientists and historians in 2010 contends that there is no evidence for or against this theory. Taking office to become the 13th President of the United States was Millard Fillmore, Taylor's vice president and fellow Whig. Fillmore's 3-year term was mostly of note for the passage of the Compromise of 1850. The Compromise of 1850 was a packet of 5 bills that attempted to resolve issues arising from the newly acquired territories as a result of the Mexican-American War. President Zachary Taylor had lived to see the inception of these bills, and it fell to Fillmore to see them through. Anti-slavery lawmakers like Taylor wanted California to be admitted as a free state, while pro-slavery legislators naturally favored slavery and slave trade in the new territories. While the Compromise admitted California as a free state and abolished the slave trade, but not slavery, in the District of Columbia, Fillmore signed the Compromise due to the improvements to the Fugitive Slave Act, which granted federal officers to slaveholders who were seeking escapees. The passage of these acts seemed to continue Taylor's goals and served to bitterly divide the Whig Party. Before leaving office, Fillmore created the Utah Territory in 1850, granting Brigham Young the office of governor. He also opened trade with Japan, giving merchant shippers a stop on the long route to China and Southeast Asia. While his successor, Franklin Pierce, was the first to see this operation through, Fillmore ordered the trade expedition, effectively ending American isolation from Japan. When Fillmore was not chosen by the Whigs to run for re-election, the Democrats knew that they had their in. In the election of 1852, the Democrats' candidate, a New Hampshire lawyer and brigadier general during the Mexican-American War, Franklin Pierce, was named the 14th President of the United States. At his inauguration, Pierce stated,
"My administration will not be deterred by any timid forebodings of evil from expansion. Indeed, it is not to be disguised that our attitude as a nation and our position in the globe render the acquisition of certain possessions not within our jurisdiction eminently important for our protection."
Described as a doughface, or a Northern citizen with Southern sympathies in the argument over slavery, Pierce is sometimes noted as one of the worst presidents in United States history. He seemed ill-equipped to manage a changing nation and seemed to fail to recognize the damage that the rift of slavery was causing. His cabinet was filled with men whose opinions and policy practices differed wildly. And while many saw his appointments as in error, Pierce's cabinet is the only one to remain the same throughout his term in office. The only major legislation signed by Pierce was the Kansas-Nebraska Act, defining those territories and granting those territories the right to decide by popular vote whether or not to allow slavery. The act effectively repealed the Missouri Compromise, which had stated that no new states admitted above the 36th North Parallel would be slave states. The act saw the country divide even further over the slavery issue and led to bloodshed, like the actions in what came to be known as Bleeding Kansas, where John Brown and his sons murdered pro-slavery activists in 1856. The country was pointed more than ever toward civil war, and Franklin Pierce, too, lost his candidacy for a second term. James Buchanan took office as the United States' 15th president on March 4, 1857. Like his predecessor, Buchanan was called a doughface, or a Northerner with sympathies toward the slave-owning South. He had served as a senator from Pennsylvania, as well as in the House of Representatives. Buchanan served as Secretary of State under James K. Polk and Minister to the United Kingdom under Franklin Pierce. A lawyer with a huge political background and the motto, "I acknowledge no master but the law." Buchanan, too, seemed ill-equipped to effectively lead a quickly dividing nation. In his inaugural speech, Buchanan promised not to run for a second term, but the point was moot by the end of his time in office. The split caused in the Democrats caused a Republican plurality in Congress in the election of 1858 and blocked most of the Buchanan-backed legislation. He was almost impeached when his administration came under investigation for buying votes from Republican representatives. Any effort Buchanan made to unite the bitter factions of the North and South only served to alienate both sides, and under Buchanan's administration, more and more Southern states seceded from the Union, drawing the battle lines for the Civil War. This failure to bring diplomacy has landed James Buchanan, too, on the list of worst United States presidents. The election of 1860 would see another divisive figure take office. While it could be argued that Abraham Lincoln was the linchpin of the Civil War, it could also be argued that the man knew how to lead and knew the steps to take to unite our soon-to-be warring nation. In our next episode, we will examine the presidency through the Civil War, Reconstruction, prosperity, depression. We will take a look at more of the men who led the United States for better or worse. Join us in our continued look at the lives, service, and influence of the United States presidents, from politics to power.
Thanks for watching. If you'd like to help us produce more compelling historical content like this, please like, comment below, and share this video with fellow history buffs. And of course, be sure to subscribe to help keep history happening.